Hello and welcome to the Tennessee Informer. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I hear a lot of people clamoring for term limits and complaining about incumbent elected officials being hard to get rid of and staying there for years. Whether term limits are a real remedy for voter ignorance and apathy is yet another issue. A voter's ability to limit the term of their U.S. and state reps is every 2 years. However, incumbents often go unchallenged. But in the Tennessee 4th seat currently held by Representative Scott Desjarlais, the voters will have a choice in the primary in 2026. U.S. Army veteran Tom Davis has thrown his hat in the ring and joins us tonight to tell us why Desjarlais' term needs to come to an end. But first, a Trump update. So we're waiting to see what will come of the Epstein files. Pam Bondi has filed a motion for the court, the judge, to release the files from the trial. We'll see how that turns out. I know I saw an interview the other day by Representative Burchett, and he says, you know, we'll probably never know everything that's in those files, and I tend to agree. Like I said, I don't think there's anything in there that's incriminating for Trump. I do think his reaction is just really, really strange. Anyway, there's bigger fish than Epstein. Obama, Brennan, Comey, and the whole crew, Hillary as well, and the Russia hoax in 2016, the Russia hoax, Tulsi Gabbard has the goods on them. And now a lot of this stuff we've heard about over the last couple of years, so it's not necessarily news, but she's gathered it all up, and she's also dug up information showing that Obama was definitely involved. It was orchestrated from the Obama administration. Obama and the intelligence community, they did this. It was deliberate, and it's got to be addressed, bottom line. So it's now with the DOJ. It's all been sent to Pam Bondi, and there needs to be some harsh justice. We can't have any excuses. People had to pay the price on this one. So no excuses, Bondi. We got to get this one done. Some Tennessee issues of concern, illegal immigration in Tennessee. Belmont University is hiding illegal aliens and camouflaging DEI as hub. They call it Hope, Unity, and Belonging. Now, you probably have heard something about this. In an undercover video obtained by Town Hall, Joseph Lukey, the Assistant Director of Student Success and Flourishing, is caught exposing the rather transparent ruse. The university is trying to continue its DEI programs by simply changing the name from DEI to Hub. And once again, harmony, unity, and I forgot what the B was. Anyway, belonging, yeah. Hope, unity, and belonging. That's Hub instead of DEI. Same left-wing garbage. So, and here's his quote. "We try to create as an inclusive space as possible here at Belmont," he said in the video. "We're not going to be out in the news doing all these things, but this is what we're going to do." He admits Belmont is operating in the shadows in violation of Trump's executive order and federal immigration law as well. I think there was also a state law passed just this past session that makes this legal as well. And I'd like to see our state take a little more action. I mean, I understand it's immigration, but our state passed laws in regards to this as well, and our state should be taking action. We don't have to just wait for the feds. Representative Andy Ogles has called for a full investigation of this. As I mentioned, our state has recourse as well. I'm sure we get there's probably at least some funding to Belmont. I know there's some federal funding. One of the honorary co-chairs, and this is what I'm hearing, 7th District candidate Matt Van Epps, one of his honorary co-chairs, Lee Beeman, is on the Board of Regents for Belmont. Now, I don't know Lee Beeman personally. All in all, he's got a great reputation. He doesn't strike me as the type of person who would endorse something like this. He's one of 50 members of the Board of Regents, okay? But, you know, all the same, I haven't heard anything, and I haven't watched closely, but I've heard other people comment. I've heard other people in the race comment on this. I have not heard Van Epps. So if you guys have, if you know that Van Epps has made some kind of comment in reference to Belmont, I'd be curious to know what that is. And I don't know why he wouldn't have already responded to it if he hasn't. Anyway, we've talked about, we got a new feature. We call it the reptile files. It's not going to be a weekly feature, but it's going to be kind of as needed. And we have a little intro here. Since 2019, the governor's budget requests have grown by 59%, from $37.5 billion to $59.5 billion. Supposedly, the number of state employees has been reduced in the past 6 years. If that's accurate, then the government is not only grown, but it's even less efficient and a less efficient use of our dollars. Only one representative, that'd be Monty Fritz from District 32, had the decency to vote no. And I can tell you there's never really a budget fight in this state. They let the governor, they call it the governor's budget, but that's the legislature's responsibility. And they control that budget. And they don't have to continue to vote on it as an omnibus the way they do. They like to brag about how fiscally responsible they are. Well, number one, that's one of the few things in our Constitution they actually follow. They are supposed to have a balanced budget every year. But like I say, it's grown. It's grown like crazy. And they buy off on all this. And part of it is the way they do it. Instead of doing all as one, I don't know why they don't do it by like items, by line item, or at least under different categories. Because as it is, you can fight against something that's really bad in the bill that you totally oppose. And at the end, if you don't vote for the budget, what you supported doesn't get funded. On the other hand, all those things that you fought against, they get funded. So there's got to be a better way to do this. But the growth is inexcusable. I mean, from 39 to 59 in 6 years in billions, that is absolutely crazy. Not conservative, not what Republicans are supposed to do. AG Skrmetti and Governor Lee continue to oppose the Second Amendment and Tennessee Section 26 of the Tennessee Declaration of Rights in our state constitution. Despite Skrmetti claiming federal government supremacy and that the Supreme Court is the final arbiter in all constitutional questions, in an opinion on legislation creating a nullification process last year, the AG continues to refuse, on behalf of the governor, to align our state with the Bruin opinion of the Supreme Court from June of 2022. The Bruin case found that any state law restrictions on firearms not compatible with laws from a majority of states in 1791 are unconstitutional. Incredibly, in the ongoing Hughes versus Lee/Skrmetti case, the lawyer for the AG's office argued in court that public parks are sensitive places. Imagine that, a public park is a sensitive place. And in recent oral arguments stated the following about firearms, and this is from the oral argument. The Hughes legal team, Gun Owners of America, has that case, and they made oral arguments. They were seeking a declaratory judgment the other day, or excuse me, this was actually back in April. And this has to do with Tennessee Code Annotated 3917-1307. And essentially, the way the legislature has chosen to define firearms, it's in the same categories as hand grenades. Now, think about that, a hand grenade and a handgun. They're categorized them as the same type of device. And of course, you can't go around carrying a hand grenade, but you should be able to carry a handgun as part of your Second Amendment. So the Tennessee legislature, and remember, they stressed, the lawyers stressed that the legislature is the one that decided how to define firearm. Okay, they defined it. Apparently they don't know the difference in a hand grenade or a firearm, a hand grenade or a handgun. That's pathetic. In a state like Tennessee, and I guarantee you, most of these people will tell you, well, I support the Second Amendment, but most of them are Second Amendment butters, meaning I support the Second Amendment, but they have all these exceptions. That's absolutely pathetic. We'll see how this pans out, but remember the current law in Tennessee that anywhere where it mentions a defense and exceptions in regards with the intent to go armed, it does not prevent you from being detained, arrested, tried by a court just for practicing your right to keep and bear arms. That's the thing to remember. A defense or an exception doesn't mean you're not going to get put in jail. It doesn't mean you're not going to have to go to court. The AG, governor, and include the Republican supermajority due to their failure to pass laws that would fix this, have in effect nullified our right to keep and bear arms in Tennessee despite claiming nullification unconstitutional. I guess we can call that political flexibility. It comes natural to all reptiles. By the way, they are also violating our state right to keep and bear arms according to past state Supreme Court case Andrew v. State from 1871. Now, as you know, if you've listened to me on this show, I support nullification, but it seems to me like our legislature, they can't make up their mind. It seems if it involves the Second Amendment, they're okay with nullifying that. If it involves anything else, oh, we can't do that. That's unconstitutional. The Supreme Court said. Now remember too that most of the people in the legislature folded in about an hour and a half in 2015 when the Supreme Court said that gay marriage was now the law of the land. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Now to our guest, Tom Davis. His website is tomdavistn4.com. He served on active duty in the Army for nearly 25 years, from 1989 until 2014. After leaving the Army, he moved to Arizona and served as a police officer. In 2017, he moved to Tennessee to be closer to his family at the time. He currently lives in Morrison, Tennessee with his wife, Cindy Davis, and the youngest of their 4 children. In the Army, he served as a motor transport operator, served in a number of different and difficult demanding positions. He was a squad leader, field recruiter, drill sergeant, small group leader, instructor, observer controller, operations, and platoon sergeant. He was deployed in support of Operations Desert Shield/Desert Storm, Operation Joint Forge, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Operation Enduring Freedom. While at the police academy, he was selected by his fellow recruits to serve as a class president. Since moving to Warren County in 2017, he's been active with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, his church safety ministry, and other activities. As a representative, Tom will relentlessly pursue returning governance back to where it belongs, with we the people. A vote for Tom gets you a combat veteran who stands on the principles of fiscal responsibility, national security, and individual rights. Now, that's not an endorsement. That's from his website. Okay, I have to make that clear. Hey, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate you having me, Dave.
Thank you for your service. 25 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, and thanks for yours, too. Yeah. And I got to say that, too, for we had the VFW and the American Legion. Right. They don't endorse, so that's just organizations that I am a member of.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
No, I don't want any confusion on anybody's part for that.
So you were in the 82nd.
I was in the 82nd.
I was in the 82nd for a while, too. How long were you there, 82nd?
I got there in 89, and then I left in 94.
Okay, a good little haul.
Yeah.
I got there in 94. How many jumps you
got? 65. They're on my log.
Yeah, okay. I got nowhere near that. I got almost a third of that.
Okay.
And you know the deal, that means about twice that were scheduled. Yes. And about half of them got scratched. After you went down there and knowing good and well you weren't going to jump because there was a tornado going on outside, but you know the whole Army, Air Force,
who's got to cancel it? So who pays for it?
Well, if we cancel it, we got to pay for it. But if they cancel it, we don't have to pay for it. So silliness.
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of years in the Army. That's a lot of time. I'll at least scroll down here just a little bit. So, what prompted you to run?
So, in May of 23, my VFW post asked me to be the guest speaker at our Memorial Day ceremony. And so I accepted. I was honored to do that. And so the VFW has like some canned speeches that they'll give you, or you can write your own. I chose to write my own. And I kind of laid out at that particular time, I was in 23. So 4 different areas where we had kind of got to where we are now. And even, now we are correcting, but we're still there, and some solutions to those problems. And, part of that was with We the People.
Right.
But it was very well received. And then my state representative, Paul Sherrill, came up to me afterwards and asked, had I ever considered or thought about running for, being in politics? That time I said no.
Right.
However, over the course of that year, I was actually down the road here at Tactical Response, doing some training with those guys. And Tim Morris, one of the instructors there, made the comment that if you find yourself standing around thinking somebody should do something, that somebody is probably you. And so I was got me. So, and some other things kind of stacked on. I was led to do this. And I started looking around at how I was being represented at each level. And I got to the U.S. House of Representatives and started looking at the voting record of Scott Desjardins, and I was not super excited, and felt and still feel that we need some different votes up there. We need some leadership. He's just now in a leadership position, a named position. And I mean, as well as I do, you're not always necessarily named, but you can, formal and informal leaders.
Right. And
he doesn't do any of that. So looking at that voting record, like I said, the NDAA, I'll talk about, or have been, and I don't know, it'll come up so much now, but he voted yes for this. And I would have been a no, because...
It's about the most recent NDAA? Or
yes.
No, the one...
Yep. Yeah, the one specifically was in 23.
Okay.
But also, they've been kicking the can. So they're working this year's NDAA now.
Okay.
But that last one...
23 and 24. They did one for 24, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. the way they kick stuff around.
Right.
But in these was funding for transgender affirming care in the military. And he justified it with a pay raise, 5% pay raise.
Yeah.
And you can keep your 5% for the issues that's going to cause down at,
Absolutely.
I mean, squad, platoon level, those guys on the ground that have to deal with that stuff. You got a guy that now can't deploy, or girl, whatever.
Yeah.
You got someone that can't deploy. Yeah. And then even when they're in garrison, they're going to be on profile, they're on medication. All kinds
of meetings, all kinds of appointments. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And even after that, chances are pretty good they'll file a claim and receive compensation for the rest of their lives, which is not something that we, the people, the taxpayers, should be on the hook for. And I can't imagine why they use this. Is it a recruiting tool? Because the numbers don't justify it.
No.
I mean, do we have the tranny brigade? It makes no sense. And if you are old enough and you want to do that to yourself, fine. Right. But it's not a taxpayer problem, and it's definitely has zero to do with national defense. Yeah. So I'd have been a hard pass on that mess.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because all of them will do that. If it's, even the veterans, I would hear that all the time I can't vote against a pay raise.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, if within that NDAA, which for those of you not familiar, National Defense Authorization Act. Okay. Yep. And it covers all kinds of garbage. Anyway, that cannot be the trump card every time. Yeah. Well, I can't justify voting against. No, you have to justify. Yes. What you should fight against is having garbage like that in the bill.
Yes, and he doesn't do that. And now is voting for these, for CRs, the continuing resolutions, right. And was on a program a while back, and he was talking about he had never done it, which is false. He actually voted yes for CRs in 2011, 2013. But he was saying he had never voted yes until now. So, because we're going to call it a big, beautiful bill, that it's okay to vote yes and pass it in the middle of the night. Right. Versus when it's the Democrats, we're going to say, it's an omnibus and it's bad. The deficit spending and all this nonsense is bad no matter who. Right. Yeah. And
it's the butt ugly bill. It's not the big, beautiful bill. It's
horrible. And not to say, I mean, there is legislation in there that needed to be done.
Yeah,
needs
absolutely.
to be, but not at raising our debt ceiling by $5 trillion, because they're gonna bump up against it.
Absolutely.
And I'm already hearing we're looking at another CR. So it's going to be the same nonsense, and so they'll kick the can, and it's just and we are at a tipping point now. We are at 122% of our GDP,
right.
And over the course of the last 100 or so years, every nation, or not, 98% of nations that have hit 130 have bankrupted out.
I'm surprised it's that high. I figured it would be, just you get over 100, 110. That's, and especially if you're not at war.
Yes.
Actively at war like World War II,
Right.
World War I.
So we are at a point, and we need some adults in Washington, D.C. They're going to have hard conversations. And we can't, as we start talking about programs, and we all kind of need to open our ears and see what's going on and open our eyes, because we have to talk about defense spending.
Right.
Why we're spending more than the next three nations combined.
Right.
China included.
Yeah.
So
what is it, like $1 trillion? And is it in the upcoming budget, or was it in what they just passed? It's like $1 trillion for defense spending.
Yeah, we're hitting $1 trillion on it, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
And our interest on the debt is what, $1 trillion?
Yeah,
roughly.
I think we have hit the point where we're servicing the debt is the biggest expense. So it'll happen. So we have to start taking a look and make the decisions now before the decisions happen to us. We're already shaved a year off of Social Security just because of the ridiculous spending that's going on in D.C. I started running an ad, and and my line is, why is Congress spending like a bunch of drunken paratroopers? And it is. It's like I mean, if my question to any of them, are you managing your own households like this? And if the answer is yes, then okay, that's why we have this problem. But the answer is no.
No, they're not.
They're all doing absolutely fine for themselves.
Yeah.
But they have absolutely no reservations about spending money that they have taken from us,
right,
and spending it on ridiculous stuff. Even in this, so we're going through the current NDAA.
Right.
The number, it's like $15 million is going to AIDS in Africa. Like, what does that have to do?
Yeah, why is that an NDAA? And why are we funding it for Africa? Matter of fact, why are we in Africa?
Exactly.
And we're all over the world. Now, so while we're talking about defense, so we hit Iran a little while ago.
Yes.
Took out their nuclear, took them out, didn't take them out, I don't know, okay? And of course, they said that was within the realm of his War Powers Act. We could agree or disagree on that, but here's what I don't understand. Iran, I do think Iran is a dangerous country.
Yes.
I do agree that we cannot allow them to have a nuke. Okay, having said that, that should probably be national policy to where it's a no-brainer no matter who the president is,
right,
and it's not all his decision. But if we're concerned, what is it that concerns us about them having a nuke? Well, we know their ideology.
Yes.
But we don't seem to understand that ideology is a problem here.
Right.
We've got in Minneapolis, they're doing the Muslim call to prayer. Dearborn has been taken over by Muslims. We have Muslim conclaves all over this country, and Trump wants to, Iran bad, Qatar good. No, Qatar bad too.
Yeah, they all are.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure, because I know you've deployed that part of the world a couple times, so I'm hoping and thinking that you understand that is an ideology that is incompatible with our Constitution.
It is, absolutely. And that's the whole gist of it is world domination by the sword.
Right.
That's their edict. That's why you hear them screaming "Death to America" and all that. Yes. So we definitely need to do some things within our own borders, because it doesn't mesh with our Constitution and the founding of this nation on Judeo-Christian values.
Absolutely.
It doesn't match. And there's also more of them in the Dallas area. Another setup
we
there.
talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Okay, yeah.
And I've got another show on that here at the end of the month that'll touch on some of that.
Yeah, we've got to control our borders, which now we are.
Right.
And what to no end the refugees. Like we can say no.
Absolutely.
And we should.
Yeah.
Especially at this point. Not only should the borders be closed, but we should definitely be cleaning out the interior of our nation, which we are. Obviously, resistance within blue cities,
right,
which I try and I try and try and figure out like the thought process behind it. Like, why would we think this is good to have people that do not want to come here to assimilate?
Right.
And what's the I can't get my mind around it.
Well,
so
the leaders in the blue states don't want to assimilate because they're communist.
Yeah.
Bottom line. I mean, that's what they are. The Democrat Party is now run by communists.
Yes.
Has been for quite a while.
Yeah.
But now it's harder for them to deny.
Yeah. And look, look at what's going on in New York with that
Yeah.
primary. So,
yeah.
it's and we definitely, I mean, we have to stay engaged in the fight. And and I've had some, been on some podcasts doing this whole thing, and that's kind of the question is, and actually it was the guys at Ghost String Tactical in New Mexico was on with those, and the guy was telling me, he was out of Oregon,
Right.
Talking about, he's been involved doing all this stuff, and so then that was earlier on, but my turn to get him, is you got to stay in the fight, man, and keep doing the thing, and that's and change people out. That's where, right now with my representative, he's been there since 2011,
Right.
initially ran on, and I'll give it to him, he turned the seat. He replaced the Democrat that was there.
Right.
So
Right.
Awesome, great job. I appreciate that. But now you're not doing what we need done,
Right.
which is leadership in Washington, D.C., and having these adult conversations about, especially the biggest thing we're facing right now is our budget. And the deficit spending and the reckless, out of control. I said, drunken paratroopers. that's what they're doing. I don't care. So and he's on board now with the CRs, which are yes to deficit spending, yes to this nonsense inside the NDAA, and it's excuses. So we hear the excuse like, well, we got this razor thin majority, and I equate and this whole thing I kind of look at it as a deployment. To Washington, D.C. and
Definitely hostile territory if you're a
Yes.
real conservative. And if you believe in the Constitution, it's definitely a hostile territory.
It is, but we get that. So I think like to my deployment to Afghanistan,
Right.
And I did. I had just enough dudes to man my trucks,
Right.
and go do our combat logistics patrol as a convoy. Right. We got to put cool names on things.
Right. Yeah.
So to go, take this whatever we're hauling out to the troops.
Right.
Can I call up? Hey, First Arm. Yeah, I got this razor thin majority. I don't think I'm not gonna make it today. You can't. Don't come back here and tell me about this nonsense that I had to compromise. No, and that's what I've been setting out my principles, my values, and lines I will not cross. And one of them is the deficit spending. Okay. That has got to end. And we need more people in there. Thomas Massey has been on with it,
Yep.
and very few others. We'll hear about it,
Right.
but then when push comes to shove, we're going to go in there and check yes on a big beautiful bunch of nonsense. Right. So that number needs to grow,
Right.
and to also to I hate to say it, but you got to work across the aisle, as hard as that is to say. And I will say, out in the wild, as I'm calling it, you will find there is some common ground. And I participated in a town hall
Right.
that was put on by Murfreesboro Indivisible, which
It's a left-wing unit.
it is. And I will say they treated me very fairly. And I knew exactly what I was getting into when I inserted myself into this
And I'm just going to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when somebody tells me they can work across the aisle, I'm thinking, if you're reaching across the aisle to do anything other than choke a liberal, you're wrong. But let's hear it out.
But and that's what I'm talking about, is out here with us in the wild, us out in the district. In that, I got some applause with my views. Whereas the Democratic counterpart, she was exactly on the party line. So that was very interesting to see. But we have got to bring more people in to like, hey, this stuff your party is doing is complete ridiculousness. And those that can be saved, we can open their eyes. And I think that's happening. And by doing those things, like I said, I'm not going to compromise. Like, well, I got to vote for this nonsense. I'll just like that NDAA.
Right.
I absolutely know on any this DEI transgender affirming. Right. I'm a hard pass.
That's been destructive to the military.
Yes, and same thing for our the deficit spending. This has got to end. So, but to at least have the conversations and listen, whether, like I said, that's where I'm at on those things. Because that's very destructive for our nation, for our military. And then, okay, you had questions on that?
So, I mean, I know you believe in the Constitution. I don't know I don't know if we're exactly on the same sheet.
Right.
A few people are exactly on the same sheet with
Yes.
me. So a couple things here. You mentioned the deficit spending. Well, most of our deficit is because we don't actually pay any attention to Article 1, Section 8. Most of the stuff that we're paying for and most of the stuff we're in debt for is not even constitutional.
Yes.
Just cut and dry, not even constitutional. So, I mean, there's a strong argument, well, hey, let's actually follow this. And oh, by the way, the other part of that is, and I'm a big 10th Amendment guy. Well, you mentioned, we're at odds. We're at odds across the country and even within the state to a degree. But I mean, Tennessee, we have a supermajority.
Yes.
Okay. It's an overall worthless supermajority, but it is supermajority. We don't have to worry about the Dems doing it to us, or GOP does it to us all the time.
Right.
But that's another issue. So I think if we would just strictly adhere, if we had people like you, Massey, and others that would say, if it's not in Article 1, Section 8,
Right.
I'm not voting for it. And oh, by the way, if it violates the 10th Amendment, I'm not doing it. Is that your philosophy? I'm just
It
curious.
is. And we've actually got to a point where we're twisting Article 1, Section 8 under the general. And general welfare is everybody. It should benefit everybody.
Right.
And we can start naming things off that don't benefit everybody.
Absolutely.
And the biggest one, or one of them, is Social Security.
Right.
That was FDR nonsense.
Yep.
Now, having said that, we can't just
can't go cold turkey.
We can't say
Nobody,
we can't just say no.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we do have to have an exit strategy.
Absolutely.
And I was saying that with my Army retirement, had said that for years coming in, because I mean that portion of my income is tied to our federal government doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Right.
And then the TSP came out, and that's like, why aren't we doing this already?
Yeah.
Yes, provide a retirement, but get it away from our national defense.
Right.
Tied to any of that. So it's something completely separate. That's a solid plan. Same thing with Social Security. If we are going to do these things, then it should be separate from anything the government. You just like a 401k.
Right.
You pay into it. And I'm not just as ideas. Okay, we do a government match, and I would say after we get out of dang debt, that's not something we do now.
Right.
But we have to. So the folks that are on it stay on it. There has to be a window.
Right.
Like myself, I'm 53, so I'm coming into that window where I'm already looking at reduced benefits because of excessive government spending.
Right.
But have a potential buyout program, and then it has to be phased out. That's one of them. Same thing with again, show me in the Constitution, Medicare, Medicaid.
Yep.
They're not there.
No.
And if individual states want to do that, then knock yourselves out as a recruiting tool. Like, hey, come to Tennessee because we got free health care or whatever. Yeah. Just I'm not advocating for it because even you look at how they've executed these programs, horrible. And they have us at each other's throats, not paying attention to what's going on in Washington D.C. Right. Don't take my Medicare. Don't take my Don't take my. It's like
everything is focused on D.C. because we have put all the marbles there.
Yes.
But and I think we're going to have to do this. Not only are we going to have to get back to strict adherence to Article 1, Section 8, but if we're going to stay together as a country long term, that's assuming we have long term left. But if we're going to have to be ruthless about the 10th Amendment because people are not going to change my mind. There's people whose mind I'm not going to change.
Yeah.
And, and a lot of that, we have differences just within the state of Tennessee. But if you look between Tennessee, California, Tennessee, Oregon, or Illinois, it's just, the gulf is too wide. But guess what? The original intent was the 10th Amendment. You guys do your thing. We do our thing. Yeah. This is the government's thing. And it's not a top-down, everybody will be uniform. Okay,
stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So we have got to get back. I've seen some estimations about 10 years. If we keep doing what we're doing, And we're before we bankrupt.
Oh, I think that's optimistic.
Yeah.
I think that's optimistic on a lot of counts. But
Yeah. But who knows? All I know is it will happen. If we keep doing this, it will happen.
Right.
So we've got to stop the madness.
And a lot of people now, so far the Trump tariffs have worked out better than some people were. They were concerned about that. There's other things that he's doing that may be great, but a couple things we got to remember. Number one, we got that real slim majority.
Yeah.
Then we got an election next year.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not confident that our elections are going to be necessarily any fairer or more honest than what they have been in the last several years.
Yeah.
So I could, what if we lose the House?
Yeah.
What if we lose the Senate? I mean, and then once Trump is gone, we don't know we don't know who will be in office then. So you cannot hope that, for instance, in the butt ugly bill where we're going to cut so much that means nothing. That's a checks in the mail type deal.
Yeah, that's it. And as you hear them talk about it now, they don't even complete the sentence. Over the next 10 years, it's like, we're cutting and even at that, what they're cutting
is increases. The
increases what they were already overspending on. It's absolutely
right.
The ridiculous shell game that goes on. Absolutely. So we've got to get back to really some actual fiscal responsibility, and not like, well, if we get, because that's what you hear too, is that if the GDP, if we get this growth, if a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its butt when it hopped.
Right.
It doesn't. So what do we need to do is plan accordingly and not spend more than what the government is taking from us.
Right.
And even with that too, if you look at the taxes. So outside of getting rid of the 16th Amendment.
Hey, that sounds like a great bill.
That would be my first, but a constitutional amendment. But taxes should not be that difficult. Right. Somewhere less than 10% on earned income, and then quit. That's one time you get a tax on goods and services, and then quit. And that's and the math is out there. It can be done to figure out. And then this is what you have, federal government, to spend on these things. Start prioritizing within your lane.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that would, to make those permanent, because they talk about these tax cuts are permanent. They're permanent until they expire again, or somebody changes it. Yeah. So, and who's trying to jump through hoops of 4,000 pages, over 1 million words of tax code. We are. So
they're permanent until the wrong Congress gets in.
Yes. Yep. So, but that's and like I said, we're not getting that out of a lot of them. In particular, my rep Scott Desjardins.
So what kind of? Did you know him personally?
I wouldn't say no. I've met him a couple times. Okay. At a couple Reagan Day dinners, which is kind of one of the other things that is big in the district is we don't see him. And about the only places you will see him notified, and this is. I called the DC office asking about this. Hey, where's my rep? Where's the town hall? Where can I go, see my rep? And they're like, well, probably at a town hall meeting. Talk to the counties and see when their Reagan Day or Lincoln Day dinners are, and that's probably where he'll be. I talked to the counties; they got no idea. Got a county now that has setting up their Reagan Day dinner, and they were being told that he won't commit until a couple weeks out. And so they said, thanks, pound sand, we'll figure it out and have some other speakers. And then, or he'll pop up for photo ops, and then you see it on Facebook.
Does he correspond, email with a lot of people?
Nope. I have got asked about a newsletter and have been told, it's starting to come out. I was told it was going to start the beginning of this year.
Wait a minute, he's been in office how long?
This is his 8th term.
He hasn't had a newsletter?
Nope. No. He hasn't done a town hall since 2013. I learned that at Murfreesboro Indivisible.
You got to be kidding me.
No. Nope. So the original excuse I got was security. They're told not to, which my response to that is stay strapped or get clapped. It's part of the job. If it's too, again, Afghanistan, hey, it's too dangerous out there. I looked at the intel and things are blowing up. I can't go. If it's too dangerous, I ain't mad at you. Just quit doing it. You know what you signed on for.
Right.
And so now I'm being told, because now he's the chairman of the subcommittee on strategic forces, whatever. Oh, he's too busy for us. So now we got a different excuse. And for me, quarterly in the district put out, so anybody who is interested in attending, come and attend. And now I will say we're going to act like adults in that room.
Yeah.
And if you can't contain yourself and be reasonable, you're going to leave.
Right.
So
now, did he, when he first started, did he give any position on term limits, or how long, or would he term limit himself?
He did. His initial run was 12 years. He said 6 terms. That was enough. And interestingly enough, I've just found that out through some research on it. But that's what I've said. And my reasoning behind it is that's, prior to our term limit on the president, that's where all those met up, was at 12 years.
Right.
3 on a president, 2 on the Senate, and then 6 on the House.
Well, two terms on a president.
No, prior to they can't run but 2.
Right.
But if before the amendment, what is it, 22nd? Is that right? Did I get it right? We amended the Constitution to limit it, but before that, it would have been 3 terms. They all would have matched at 12. So that was my thought process behind it. And additionally, if you haven't got it done in 12 years, you probably need to start passing it off to somebody else.
Right.
And now he won't even address the question. It's like, all right, I guess and he has sponsored some stuff and been on some, trying to do some term limit stuff, but I guess it just applies to everybody else. Or if he's successful in getting, legislation, or it would have to be a constitutional amendment.
So what are some other bad votes on his part?
The NDAA, this current one, the CR, and I'm expecting him to vote yes on that.
The upcoming CR.
The upcoming CR, yeah, he'll vote yes. He's on board with it now. What was it? The one last year, or it was it was HR 6090, and in this one it would have made it illegal to criticize Israel. Yeah, it was some bad stuff. And then they did. I don't remember, last year they did they call it the MIRV, which is actually the multiple rocket reentry vehicle.
Right.
So they had all those, and this was with Ukraine stuff.
Right.
And so they had 4 different bills that they separated and voted on them individually, but they were all coming back together to pass. So then he was able to vote no on some of those. He did vote yes on that one, though.
On the MIRV?
On the MIRV.
And that was for Ukraine?
Yes.
Okay.
So
has he been overall supportive of the whole Ukraine deal?
I haven't looked. He has voted yes on that stuff. So yeah. and me, I'm a no on it.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
This is another one we're throwing money in stuff we got no business in.
Right.
And my line of thought is the end of World War II, there was reasons for it, and so they did it. The times have changed.
Right.
So, I wouldn't say total isolationist.
Right.
But yeah, let's bring everybody home.
Yeah.
Why do we need 30,000 in Japan? Another 30 or whatever it is in Korea.
Yeah.
60 in Europe. Like,
yeah.
Why?
And even the Middle East. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
Middle
like,
East. Why?
I think, and this bothers me because I know that, the higher ups in the military, when this is suggested, and when it was suggested a while back about, putting troops on. See, I think we should have a 360 ring of forts and positions all around the inside of our country, because we've got invaders from the south, we got invaders from the north. Can't trust the Canucks. Anyway, the government, they're communists.
Yeah.
I think that's the job of the military. I mean, I don't think we don't need a separate budget for military budget plus border control.
Yeah.
Why can that not be a military mission?
Yeah, times have changed. Let's reposition our forces at the borders, and then bring everybody back. There's no purpose for it anymore, other than foreign entanglements and it's unproductive, very unproductive for us as citizens. Yeah, put them on the border, interlocking fields of fire. It's all good.
Yeah, So, for instance, we have allies. I mean. Israel, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like Israel. I got it. But my point is, I don't want my tax dollars going to any other country.
Yeah.
I don't want my tax dollars going there. I don't want them going to England. I don't want them going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think it's immoral for our government to give tax dollars to another country. Now, in the case of some of it, and I think this may be the case with Israel as I understand it, they have to buy the weapons from our arms dealers.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, which again, our military-industrial complex.
Yeah, alive and well. It's
Yeah,
alive and well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, the times have changed, so we have got to adjust with it, or we're gonna we will collapse. I mean,
Right.
you can't say it any other way,
Yeah.
really. So yeah, that's kind of the biggest ones on it is some of those votes like that. Like I said, just and that's really within the district has been the lack of accessibility. Like I said, so like I said, at least quarterly. That to me is not a stretch. I'm doing videos currently. I have the YouTube channel for the campaign.
Oh, okay.
That's Tom Davis TN4, and then primarily right now is Facebook, and that's Tom Davis for Congress. And so I put up a lot of videos on there. And,
So you have any
posted-
events coming up anytime soon?
Not. I'm planning. There's an ice cream social coming up, and then and that's in Coffee County on the 2nd.
Right.
I don't think. What do I have? Yeah, gonna get my calendar. It kind of goes. I'll go to the GOP meetings in the counties.
Right.
And then just events.
So have you been you've been to all the counties in the district, right?
I've been to them. Yes.
Okay. You got a pretty good rapport with all the.
With most of them, yeah. Some of them it's harder to get to.
Right.
Coffee, I've been to stuff in Coffee County, but that GOP has been I haven't been able to match up schedule. I think Rutherford. I just went to what they call it, a mix and mingle at the bowling alley. The GOP put on there.
Okay.
I have spoke with the Rutherford, the women the Rutherford women, the Republican women of Rutherford.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have spoke with them. And then, Sequatchie, I've been out there. Miggs, Ray, been to both of those. Bledsoe, Bedford, Lawrence, Giles, Franklin. Franklin's another one that they do a little bit different, so I haven't really been to.
Right. Now you ran last time too, but
yes.
didn't you got in the game real late? Is that?
No, I was about on time, I guess.
Right.
I made my announcement was in October of 23,
Okay.
and then just kind of really January is when I started looking into it. So I researched what I was doing, and then the whole you talked about the incumbent stuff on there.
Right.
It's incumbent protection racket.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So one, I make sure I'm outside of constitutionally, but I'm qualified to run, which Tennessee's this bona fide process we got. So you have to have voted 3 of the last 4 Republican primaries, which
And you have?
Yes, I have. I've
Okay.
only voted Republican. So that, and then you have to pay $2,500 to the party, and
Which is garbage, but okay.
and then you have to get 25 verified signatures,
Right,
which
right.
and the form cracked me up. Typical government. So it's 3 pages, and there are 49 signature slots. I'm like, you couldn't just
Couldn't just do one more?
I'm like, one more? Come on.
I got to ask you this. I mean, this is Tennessee. I have to ask you. Second Amendment. What's your view on it, and what needs to happen in D.C.? Let's say in reference to the ATF. I mean, do we need to do we need to take the F out of the ATF?
Yeah. So shall not be infringed is pretty clear to me. My stance is the 1934 NFA, the National Firearms Act, is unconstitutional, should go away, followed by the 1968 Gun Control Act,
Right.
and all that stuff.
And I think the 68 Gun Control Act, that's where the ATF started doing the background checks, so part of that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Right, somewhere in there,
I don't understand. We talked about the Bruin opinion.
Yeah.
So I would have thought one of the first things would have been, hey, ATFs, you are now just AT.
Yeah.
We're taking your F away.
Yeah. I mean, they're unconstitutional. There's no way around it. And then the 1934, if the defense would have showed up and argued the case, then we may not have had that. And that was also that push from FDR because there was an assassination attempt on him, and so he
Right.
started railing for it. And it's just the whole reasoning behind the stuff is nonsense. The machine guns, they were not a problem. It
Right.
was, there was with the St. Valentine's Day massacre. It's like, oh no, we got to get rid of it. It's like, oh my gosh, knock it off.
Yeah. Chicago, once again.
Yeah, right.
Imagine that. They were killing people everywhere in Chicago.
Yeah. So that's that's where my work would be. We need to get rid of those. And it's not having the desired effect. I understand, the thought behind it. But at the end of the day, it's the whole mantra is gun violence. Gun violence. Well, okay, what's the root word there? The root word is violence.
Right.
The gun just happens to be an
Right.
instrument that's used. Take away the gun, that you're still going to have the violence.
Oh, yeah.
So let's actually start punishing the crimes, which I understand our liberals don't care to do that. But that's how you deal with it. And then, okay, when you're in jail, you don't have a gun anyway. So what's the problem?
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty clear. And the understanding and that the reason behind it was not self-defense. Well, I guess
it was personal self-defense, but it was collective self-defense against
yes.
the tyrannical government.
Yeah, there was the primary.
It's
the
the
secondary.
Shoot Your Government Amendment.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. And that's where some of the arguments are like, well, just it's for hunting. It's for, no, it absolutely is not. It's to keep a government in check.
Right.
Because from Jump Street, they started going crazy with the cheese whiz. And now, kind of something else, but the judicial tyranny that we live under.
Absolutely.
And that started with our first Chief Justice, John Marshall. And
well, he wasn't our first, but he was
started with him.
He
yeah.
was,
yeah.
and I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so one thing we need now, ever since Trump has been in office this time, you've had all these district courts out of control, nationwide injunctions. And I've heard people say, the Supreme Court needs to get a hold of this. No. Here's the deal. Article 3, Section 2, Congress can limit their appellate jurisdiction. You're aware of that?
Yes.
And so can I get, if you get elected, will you sponsor that legislation?
Oh, absolutely. That one's too easy. A couple pages maybe on a bill. Some whereases, and I got to update it. Yeah, no, that one's too easy. Because that's where it lies, and that's it irritates me every time too when we're like, we throw our hands up. Well, the Supreme Court says it's like how many? The Supreme Court also said at one point that slavery was cool, So we wait on until what they change their minds for the next
50 years later, 60 years later.
Yeah, and you get a different makeup. No, that absolutely horrible.
Their appellate jurisdiction needs to be severely. They need to only have, in my opinion, original jurisdiction.
No.
So the things that they have original jurisdiction in according to the Constitution, that's it. Other than that, sit down and shut up. The states will handle it.
Yeah, those lower courts, that's completely and should have already been handled with the way they're doing with the telling them you can't, you have to spend that money. You can't fire these people. Get out of here with that trash.
Yeah.
So why is Congress not now? Like, all right, hey, we'll just, and you know what is super easy, right? I've done a couple of them. We have some awesome tools at our hands. My man, I'm calling him Chet, but Chat GPT.
Oh, okay.
It's there, it's available. You got to, verify stuff, but man, it spit some stuff out, and it just,
all the
it's too
federal
easy.
courts are creations of the Congress, and oh, by the way, their powers, whatever judicial powers they have, come from Congress.
Yeah.
They can decide not only they could do away with whole districts.
Yeah.
They could do with severely limit the appellate jurisdiction.
Oh, yeah.
Or even with whatever they give them, they can say, you can do this, but you can't do that.
Yeah.
They have no inherent power other than the only thing the Constitution allows them to do on their own is that original jurisdiction, and that's just to hear the case, and whatever opinion they give in that is binding just in that case. It's not a nationwide precedent.
Yeah, and historical precedents of presidents telling the Supreme Court to pound sand.
Yeah.
Our previous regime did that. Lincoln also did it.
Right. Trump needs to do it more.
No, absolutely.
He is actually, in my opinion, he's wasted a golden opportunity in deferring to them in too many cases.
Yeah, like bringing this knucklehead Garcia, was it Albrega or whatever? Are you kidding me? Like, nah, dude, he's staying down there. Tell the judges to go get him. Like, you want him back? Go get him. Yeah. You know, but we've got to rein that stuff in too. And again, why is Congress not doing it? Absolutely, constitutionally, they're within their authority constitutionally to take care of. Hem these guys up.
If nothing else, that right there, what you said right there, if you're in my district, I'd vote for you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in 7th district, but if you were in my district, I would vote for you just for that, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's out of control. You know, and and we've been convinced of it. Like, well, the Supreme Court says we got to do what they say. Nah, knock it off. No, we don't. What are they going to do? I mean,
that's right. They have no power. Everything they do relies on the executive to enforce it,
to execute.
And if the Congress thinks that the executive should have enforced something that the court said, then they have their options, and we know what those options are. That hasn't worked too well for them. But you know, that's another thing too. Most of our problems in this country, now there's moral and spiritual issues in the country, no doubt, but most of our problems stem from the federal government.
Oh yeah.
And they stem from Congress, basically dereliction of duty on the part of Congress. They've allowed the courts to get out of control. They've allowed the executive to take all, and I don't mean just Trump, I mean, you go way back. Cleveland was the last, or excuse me, Coolidge was probably the last president who somewhat followed the Constitution. Yeah. So it's in a mess. We're in a mess.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, we need some different attitudes, some different, and that's, you know, what I believe. And you know, and you hear that too from veterans. You know, all the memes about, I swore an oath to the Constitution and it never expires. And well, that's the case. So, you know, here I am looking to go, you know, defend the Constitution, because that's what it's about. And for, you know, my kids and you know, generations down the road, they're either going to look back and be like, you know, they got their heads out of their butts and did what they needed to do, or why didn't they? Right. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm not going to. No one's going to say that I didn't at least, you know, give it the go. Right. So,
any closing thoughts?
No, I really appreciate you having me on, and you know, doing this, and then just I didn't see, you know, numbers. Hopefully some of my folks tuned in. Just, you know, thanks out there to those that are coming on to the campaign, and because there is a movement out there. It's just getting the word out and you know, letting folks know where I am at, and that we do have an alternative to you know, this incumbent that is just, you know, kind of treading water really, and not even doing a good job of that. He's now, you know, in with the deficit spending. He's not in our district, and again, digging a couple votes down. He's no good, and you know, to go up there and actually have a backbone. And so yeah, I appreciate the consideration out there, and being part of the process. It's been very, very eye-opening for me.
Worse than you thought, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said before, Facebook, Tom Davis for Congress.
Yeah, got your website up there.
Oh, yep. All right. Perfect. Yeah, TomDavisTN4.com. That's the one. Instagram is Tom Davis TN4. I am on the X machine, Tom Davis TN4. Primarily I'm on Facebook. So, and then the Instagram, and then that's where we are. So, you know, I appreciate, you know, getting on Facebook, doing the likes, doing the shares, and let's get a change going. And, you know,
well, I plan on having you back on. I don't know exactly when. We'll probably wait till at least till 26. To do that. And hey, thanks again. I appreciate you coming. And this link is, you know, as soon as we finish the show, if anybody didn't catch it, you can send that link. It's live. They don't have to wait for anything. It's ready to go.
All right, perfect. I'll definitely keep pushing it out.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thank you again. I want to thank the audience for taking the time to watch our program tonight. Please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notification bell, so you never miss an episode. We appreciate your support. Speaking of support, thanks again to Jonathan and Mary League's donation to make July's programming possible. We really appreciate it. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, so please subscribe and share us with your friends. Check out our audio podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and other platforms as well. Sign up for our weekly newsletter at our website, teeninformer.com. Find and follow us on X and Facebook. Look for Dave's Raves, which are 2-minute audio commentaries on current events. An announcement about a constitutional sheriff's training online that will be every Thursday in July, 7 p.m. Know what your sheriff should know. Sign up at events.mamacat.org/constitutional sheriff's training for citizens. Or Tennessee Conservative News, I think, also has this link. Our guest next week will be Robert Lee Hodge, a living historian well known in reenacting circles for his devotion to accuracy. He's also worked passionately in the preservation community for nearly 3 decades. In 1999, Rob came to national prominence upon the publication of Tony Horowitz's Confederates in the Attic book. He appeared as a major character in the book and also appeared on its cover. He was born on Stonewall Jackson's birthday. He's had a keen interest in our Civil War since age 4. Let me repeat that. Since our war for Southern independence, since age 4. For over 30 years, he has worked on several history-based films, from dramas like ABC's North and South, TNT's Gettysburg, and Andersonville, many History Channel programs, A&E, National Geographic, you name it. And he's done some of his own documentaries that have won Telly Awards and a regional Emmy in 2007. If you are a Civil War buff, you don't want to miss this. Hope you'll join us again next time. That's it for now. Good night from Paris, Tennessee, that is.